Since there's no introduction, just go?
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe I'll introduce myself. My name is Jordan, as you all know, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about a subject that I think is interesting, especially because there's a lot of people that feel very strongly about it in both ways, and it's something that's kind of a big issue in the world right now, and that is, or at least in the US, especially right now, and that is gay marriage. Should it be allowed, and should I care? So, it's a hot topic right now, especially among Christians, because you have those who come from a more conservative background and they're opposed to it, and then people who would label themselves as progressive are like, no, we should let it, whatever. And so a lot of, they're saying that, homosexuality is prohibited in the Bible, and since marriage was instituted by God, we need to protect it and not legalize gay marriage. And then others would counter that this is a secular issue, this is an issue of legislation, and religious beliefs shouldn't be brought into it. And so we shouldn't make it a church-state issue, because in this country we have a separation of church and state, because we shouldn't try to impress the beliefs of the Christian church on those who don't believe. And I was just hoping to get some input as to what you guys may think, if there are any opinions out there. And I also have some pros and cons. What do you guys think?
I think it's a really tough issue, one that I haven't really even said myself.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think, like you said, of marriage as a church type thing and legislature as a state type thing, and I believe in separation of church and state, so then why should the state be, saying anything about whether or not they can get married?
Mm-hmm.
But then already, to get married, people have to sign legal papers and stuff like that anyway. So then, do I think that's wrong? Like, would I just get married without that? I don't think so. But I think with gay marriage, we also have to think about the consequences of if it's, allowed, then, they would be allowed to adopt children and things like that. The consequences that would come from allowing something like that to happen wouldn't just affect, this affects a legal thing. It actually affects a way of life in our country. And so I think that's an important thing to think about.
Yeah.
It's what we talked about before. It's kind of going off of what you're saying. Bad thing doesn't mean it should be illegal, right? Just like
Well, just because I have a moral objection to something doesn't mean that it should be illegal.
Like drinking alcohol is bad, but then it shouldn't be illegal. I mean, it's not illegal for adults to drink the alcohol type thing. But just like Gary was saying, if it's illegal and legal for a gay marriage, if gay marriage is legal, but there will be more bad, immoral influence really more around there, such as adopting children, and they'll probably do the same thing or maybe not, but those kind of things.
I think there's a different angle that it should be looked at, and that is the rights that kids have. Mm-hmm. And as I see it, it's a right for every kid to have a mom and dad, and not two dads and not two moms. Mm-hmm. And so it's sort of, if you legalize gay marriage, you're basically legalizing those married couples to adopt kids. You'd have to come up with some other sort of laws that might be complicated to prevent them from adopting kids, and it's hard to say where that would go, but as I see it, you really are opening the door to adoption from those couples, and that really is not something that I think kids should have to go through. Mm-hmm. Because it really just changes the whole family structure, and the family is completely destroyed. There is biological differences in as far as the brain and everything between women and men. So having two men, having two women raise a kid, they will not get to understand something. They may not get to the place in society that someone raised by mom and dad may to, because of the actual differences in the way that they can actually raise their kids. Mm-hmm.
But it's just like a single parents though, because it might be sure it's more like an uncle or something. If their dad and the uncle raise one kid, it's kind of probably the same.
It's true, yeah, it's true that there are divorces, but
Yeah.
it's still not the same as having, two dads and two moms.
Yeah,
I see it as
It brings a different.
And you're almost, I mean, unless they're faithful, it's really hard to actually find faithful homosexual couples. There are faithful homosexual couples, but it's rare. And so you really are opening the door to teaching kids that promiscuity is fine too. I think it really destroys the family structure. That's what I think.
And the thing is, it also warps the child's view of what is normal, because then, growing up, they, like, how will they know what they are? How will they know if they're a girl or a guy or whatever, or who they should be attracted to? Like, it completely gets rid of all security for the child in who they are and their purpose and things like that. It opens up a lot of insecurity issues, I think, for children. So for their sake, I think it would be dangerous to allow gay marriage to be legal. But I still am not sure if it's right to actually make it illegal.
But excellent points. But there are adoption. I think is a separate issue because even though, because there's already adoption going on, like not necessarily like even without gay marriage in place.
How would you differentiate it though?
Well, I mean, because just because you can't get married doesn't mean that you can't adopt.
I don't think you can't legally adopt unless you are married.
No, I don't think so.
You can't legally adopt, yeah. That's what I
Okay, so maybe it's only in states that have been
No, I don't think so, because
legal. Because I know it goes on.
Because single parent, I don't think single parents can adopt.
I'm pretty sure.
I have friends who are adopted who only
Well,
have
Miss Alice.
But they were single parents adopted, okay.
Like,
So it would have to be one of the parents that would adopt it.
Mm-hmm.
even if they're single parent, they can adopt it. Single parents can adopt.
So I was looking at some different arguments on the internet, and it was interesting. A lot of them, I still don't know what to think, but I was kind of looking at them a little bit skeptically because some of them were like, for example, allowing gay marriage could be a slippery slope to other things like polygamy and whatever. Like, well, that sounds, maybe true, but that's kind of fallacious. Because just because you allow one thing doesn't necessarily mean that all of a sudden all these other things are going to become okay. But yeah, something that I was thinking of is that we look at things through our Christian worldview, right? But not everybody else does that. And so, I don't know. Do you guys know what I mean? Other people would look at it a different way, and then basically, if they don't believe the same thing that we do, they may come at it from a completely different angle, and in their mind, it's 100% okay. And so, since the legislative body of the country is not expressly Christian or whatever, does it make sense for that? Yeah, for basically Christian values to be enforced. I mean, not that there's a problem with Christian values, because I think that Christian values are good, but I mean,
Yeah. And I think this could sort of be a different argument, but we do believe that our country, even though we don't have union of church or state, our country at least used to profess to be a Christian country.
Yeah.
And still, says in God we trust, and one nation under God, and things like that. And so, out of respect to the God that we claim to be under, you would think that our laws would at least reflect a little bit the law that He has given, which would completely get rid of the possibilities of gay marriage or gay relationships at all.
but then you have to also think of